Welcome. Today we are discussing dysfunctional families, and our focus is on adult children who do not know how to ask for their own needs to be met. Every single day of my work, and as I interact with people even outside of work, I meet very many people who struggle to ask for their needs to be met. And most of this started with the families that they grew up in. This environment that one is raised really influences how they see life, how they see people, how they see things, and even how they communicate. Most of the adult children raised by parents where needs were not met, or the children were not allowed to ask for their needs to be met, grow up, and they end up becoming adults who struggle to ask for their needs to be met. Now let me give some of the examples, because I know people can argue, no one stopped me from asking for my needs, and as I struggle to ask for my needs as adults. Let me give some of the examples. People who experienced parents who, when they asked for money, they were told things like, money does not grow on trees, or you think money just comes that easy. And when they were met with some form of emotions like anger, then they learned that the safest way to do it is not to ask at all. There are the setups where some children ask for things like books, very basic things, and the parent would say, you can come and write on my face. So what did some of these things do? They made the child to feel that asking was wrong. Again, there are setups that I know I've heard people say that when they asked for food because they were angry, the parents said, shut up, I cannot juggle between working and giving you food, or you just have to wait until I finish working. I cannot do two things at the same time. I can't cook and at the same time working. So while it is okay to ask a child to wait when they really need to, because probably at that point you can't offer what they are asking, but saying to the child that they need to wait empathetically, yes, I see you're hungry, but give me 2 minutes, let me finish what I'm doing here, then I'll come and give you food. This does not create any emotional baggage to the child, because it's just a matter of waiting. They can do that. But there are setups where this wait was said with so much anger and hurt that the child learns that it's better not to ask. I've also had incidents where children would ask for things like school fees, and the parent would say, you're stressing me, you're adding to my pain because I don't have money. Now, it is not the work of the child to know that the parent does not have money. And we appreciate that from time to time, every human being may be short of finances. But it's okay to let the child know that I'm going to take a few days, I'm sorting my issues, and then I'll be able to pay your school fees. That one creates calm. The child knowing is a matter of days and the need will be sorted. The other one creates anxiety, knowing that your parent is lacking, they're struggling, and as a child, you do not know what to do to help your parent. So it creates anxiety. So the child would rather not ask because they do not want to stress you as a parent. There are also instances where children would ask their parents to hold them, then the parents would say, no, I don't want to hold anyone, I am too tired. And the child interprets it that there's something wrong with me because my need cannot be met because my parent is struggling. But when the parent would address that issue empathetically, but give me a few minutes, then I am going to have you, I'm going to hold you, I'm going to take you somewhere that communicates a different message from, I don't want to hold you, I'm very tired, or go away, you're making me more tired. So some of these statements would make children feel guilty for asking. And by extension, they are going to learn that it's not okay to ask. There are also children who ask to be listened to, especially when children grow older, 6, 7, and they keep saying, listen, mom, listen, dad, listen, or any other adult that was around them. And the parent says, you're always thinking about you go away, or I don't want to listen to you, then the child learns that it's not okay to ask, because asking was met with anger, or asking was met with a negative emotion. In some instances, when children would say, I don't want to give my toy away, or so and so is insisting on this thing and it's mine, and the parent would call them mean or selfish for not sharing, or make the child feel bad for not wanting to share, as opposed to teaching the lesson, then the child learns that their emotion or the feeling when they try to make that boundary, that I don't want to share my toy with so and so, then they are being demeaned, they are being belittled, they are being made to feel bad for not sharing. So while it's okay to teach children lessons, then it's not okay to make them feel bad for doing the things they do. So a lesson would be taught, and the child can understand that since you would like so and so to share, or so and so shares things with you from time to time, then you may think on when you share and when you don't want to share, so that then at some point you're also sharing. This is in a case where people share. But at the end of the day, it's also okay from time to time for a child to not want to share, and they do not need to be victimized for that. So when a child asks for their need to be met, and the request was met with anger, with criticism, with pain, and with shame, then the child learns that it is safer not to ask. Because in the world of the child, they interpret it as, it is my request that is the problem. Remember, children have no understanding that it is your stress that is making you respond in certain ways. They imagine that they are the problem. That's why you're responding like that as an adult or as a parent. So they learn then asking for their needs to be met is never safe. They choose not to ask for their needs to be met. As they choose this direction, it does not mean that they understand, and it does not mean that they do not want their needs to be met. It means they want their needs to be met, but then they cannot ask for their needs to be met. By extension, it means they live to expect you to meet their needs without asking. As adults, these children struggle with asking people to meet their needs, whether these adults are in a marriage, whether they are in intimate relationships, whether they are just with other friends, whether it is at work, whether it is with practically any level of relationship. They struggle with asking for their needs to be met. What they do, they expect other people to continually meet their needs without them speaking about them. Now, this is an unrealistic expectation because it never happens. So they live very frustrated lives, expecting people to meet their needs. When these their celebration days like Valentine, like Christmas, like birthdays, and the person lives to expect that this time I hope they will pay for a holiday. This time I really hope they'll buy me that book. This time I really hope they'll give me that cash that I've always been wanting. But they are not able to communicate their needs exactly as they are. In intimate relationships, it is just simple things like I need to be touched, or I need you to be here with me, to listen to me. You live expecting someone else will sit and listen to you without necessarily being specific about that particular need. Now, these people live very frustrated lives. These are adults who were raised in dysfunctional families where the needs were not allowed to be asked, or when they were asked, they were not met, or they were asked, they were not met, and what the parent did was to project their negative emotions to the child. So, as an adult, what happens and how do you move away from these expectations of people meeting your needs when you're not being clear on what your needs are? Number one, realize that no one is a mind reader. No one has the capacity to read your mind. So long as you have not told what it is that you need, no one will ever get to know what your need is. Number 2, you are no longer a child where you were helpless and you were dependent on another adult to be able to sort you out. As an adult, then you have the capacity to ask for your needs as you need them, specific needs, and communicate to specific people. Because when you become an adult, then you can learn how to communicate. Number 3, if someone does not answer to your needs, then quit interpreting it as there's something wrong with you, or there's something wrong with asking, or there's something wrong with your needs. If you ask for your needs and they are not met, quit interpreting that to mean there's something wrong with you, there's something wrong with your needs, because it is not true. People can choose to meet your needs or not meet your needs because either they have capacity, or because either they lack capacity, or they choose not to meet your needs. So do not make the interpretation personal, because if someone is not meeting your needs, it is not about you. It's because they choose not to meet that need. Now, as you continue to ask, always remember that asking does not make you needy, because the deep-seated belief that is formed when a child's needs are not met is asking makes you needy. And because as adults they struggle with not wanting to be needy, then they do not ask for their needs. You may need to keep reminding yourself every single day that asking for someone to meet your needs does not make you needy. In fact, asking is simply human. Every human being will need their needs to be met from time to time, and they will need someone else to come and ask them, or they will need someone else to come and meet their own needs. Now, so why ask if you know sometimes people will not meet your needs? Because asking is a form of, is a way of living in the authentic self, living in freedom, that I don't need to struggle today if I just need help with networks. The simple and the easiest things and for me to be living in my own freedom is to be able to ask people around me to connect me with the networks that I need. Again, asking is giving yourself permission to live in freedom. And as you ask, realize that people do not necessarily need to meet your needs. As you ask, manage expectations. As you ask, manage expectations, because people do not have to meet your needs when you ask them. People can choose to meet them, people can choose not to meet them. Everyone has a choice. If you are asking friends who you constantly come through for, and they never come through for you, the most important part here is not for you to pick issues with your friends, to be angry or bitter or resentful with them. It is to redefine boundaries. If you realize that you're constantly asking X to meet your needs and they do not meet at any one point, and X is constantly asking you to meet their needs, and you come through for them, then it simply means one thing, that you may need to readjust the level of relationship that you share with X, because X may not be the right person suited to meet your needs as you meet theirs every single time. In other words, readjust boundaries. It simply means if you're constantly coming through for people, they never come through for you, then you may need to ask yourself, is it important for me to constantly come through for you? So instead of being resentful and bitter with them, choose differently. Decide that you can as well find other people. You can move forming relationships until you find people whose relationship is going to be reciprocal. In reciprocity, I mean, if I am meeting your need sometime, then you also meet my need sometimes. Ultimately, to be healthy is to choose to speak for your needs. Because again, unless you speak, no one will really ever know what your needs are. And highly likely, you will not have those needs met because no one knows that they need to meet those needs. Thank you for joining us today.